Welcome back to the channel. So I have the wheel off the other side, and in this side the grub screws are actually in the brake drum, so I'm going to have a go at getting them out, and same crack trying to get this off. Hopefully it'll come off a little bit easier, so I'll start spraying in the penetrating oil into it and get that soaking. And also what I use is one of these screwdrivers where you can put spanner on the end and put it. Oh, that's lovely and loose. Didn't need it, didn't even check it. And then this one, there we go. That was just luck. So that's brilliant. I'll give these a good clean up and a good grease so that they're nice and easy to take out next time. That's half the battle. And then I'll have a go pulling this off. I've released the brake shoes, so we'll see if they want to come. Oh, it does, yeah. Okay, brilliant. Yeah. Now, on with the torch, because the lighting isn't great over. On with the torch and we'll see what we have in here. So I can see with the gasket glue that someone was in there doing half shafts, so that's okay. Plenty of meat on the brakes. It looks like this side wasn't working as much as the other side, especially when you look at that, compare that to the other side. And actually, strange enough, the brakes actually didn't have to be turned off, they were released that much. Okay, and there's some grease there from when this job was done. I'd say it's not fresh oil anyway. Okay, it's dry anyway. It's just some grease, and that's just see, that was some of the old oil that was leaking out. Okay, not too bad. Not too bad at all. I'd say whoever had them off had to use the bolts to push it off, because you can see the mark there. What harm? I had mine ready to go. These retainer clips seem to be in better condition than the other side. I've ordered new ones anyway, so it doesn't matter. And all the studs look good. Some of them look very, very clean towards the end in there. Interesting. Yeah, so this side definitely wasn't adjusted for a long time as much as the other side. There's a little bit of, oh, that's, I usually put my mask on now when I take these off. I know they're probably not asbestos, but just to be sure. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take off the spring, those two springs, and off of that bracket, and then off with the retainer clips, and give them a good clean out, and yeah, see what we have to work with. This is the other brake adjuster, and it seems to be treading out nice, just a little bit dry, that's all. So I'm going to hit it with the wire brush on the drill with a good, we'll try to good cleaner up, and put some of that lithium grease on it then, and should be ready to rock. And that's it now. Everything is turning lovely and free, all greased up with the lithium. I didn't bother shot blasting this, just gave it a quick rub with the wire brush because it doesn't need to be shot blasted. And these aren't brass like the Ferguson 20, they seem to be kind of more metally alloy, so they'll be perfect once they're greased up. So I'm after giving these a quick, very quick clean in the shop blaster, and I'm just going to give this brake drum a clean out, because this was the half shaft that was, I'd say, was leaking in the past, and it's there's a lot of dirty grease on it there, that's dirt sticking to it and stuff. So the plan is give this a quick clean, let it drip dry, And what I'll do then is I will give it a shot blasting inside to get all the, to give it a good clean out basically, and help the brakes to work a bit better, get a better grip. Again, just to see what we're working with. That is ideal. Ideal. I'm after taking off the brake rod off the brake cross shaft here. Now it took a bit of work to get that cotter pin out, but it's out. The reason why I did start off this job thinking that I just have a look at the brakes and make sure everything's okay, but there was a clunking sound coming from the back axle, and I was hoping that it was only the end float in the rear wheel bearings, and of course to test that you need to take off the other wheel, jack it up completely. With only one wheel off this side, I couldn't hear any end float at all, but when I jacked up the other side and took the wheel off, that's way too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the end float by pushing that in and setting up, let's say my vernier caliper is the digital one, and then pulling that out, measuring it, and then what I'll do is I'll have that. And for example, if this is, let's say, 40 thousandths of an inch of end float, I have to take out around about 20 thou of a shim or shims from each side. I don't like taking them out from one side, I prefer to take them out from two. So, as we've seen on this side over here, it looks like the man who bought the tractor off said the half shaft seal was done, and you can see the gasket go around that. And this was fairly wet with oil and grease and all that. So I am going to take out this half shaft here. I have two new seals there. I always keep a few of them because they're handy to have. And I'm going to replace the seal after I measure the end float there and work out how many shims I have to take out to get that end float right. So that's the next job. Off with these 1, 2, 3, there's 6 of them. The Massey Ferguson 35 at 12 of these, so that's how you know this is a genuine gold belly. It had the same amount as the Ferguson 6. So I'm going to pull that half shaft off now and inspect everything inside. I also don't see anywhere to grease the rear wheel bearing. On the Ferguson there was a grease nipple, so it's no harm to take this off, maybe put the half shaft in the parts washer, give the bearing a good clean out, wash out, blow out of the air gun, and then pack it with grease, because it's a pity now I can't see anywhere to grease it. But anyway, that'll be done, and the seal, and we'll get it shimmed up lovely. I'm happy that it's only in the half shafts that this slop is, because I wouldn't like it to be in the diff. If anyone was following my other playlist on the 20 diesel, they'll see that I did the diff bearings and the wheel bearings, and the wheel bearings especially were a very big job. So I'm hoping just a quick shim up will do that. So let's get on and let's get that half shaft out. What I'm after doing on the other side is I'm after pulling the other half shaft out. What that's going to do is going to give me as much space as it possible to push this one in, and then I don't have a dial gauge, so what I do is I push that in as far as it will go, zero this, and then I pull this out, and then it was coming in roughly there about, and I was keeping it nice and still, about 20 thousandths. So that's roughly what I need to take out, is 20 thou, so that's 10,000 a side. So I'm happy enough to go with that and recheck it then again, and there should be only very, very, very slight in and out movement. So that's the end float that I'm getting, and that is a little bit more than they say you know you should have. I think they recommend for the Ferguson 20, I think about between 5 and 8. So 8 if the bearings are old, 5 if they're new, because they'll wear in or bed in a bit. So with that in mind, if I'm going to go for 8, I need to take out about 12 thou So that's not too bad. I'll take out the half shaft and see what sort of shims I have in there. So I'm after giving the axle just a little pull. I just want to make sure that the gasket doesn't tear. I'll most likely make a new one for it anyway, but still. It's only a shame there's no gasket out. Oh. Okay. Okay, I'll get the torch, have a look at the seal. Okay, so it definitely focused a bit better. It was replaced at some point, no doubt about it. I have a new one there. Was it leaking? I don't think so, that looks more like grease. Now we'll have a look in here. Yeah, not too bad. Grease doesn't look dirty, but we will be able to give all that a good clean up. There's your sealing surface there. That'll benefit from a good clean as well. Get a better sealing, smoother sealing surface. Okay, and our shims are this, so I've worked out what thickness that is and then replace it with a slightly thinner one. Okay, that's what we have to work with. So, splines A1, not a bother in the world. They look good, so I'll give that a good clean up. So this shim is a 30 thou, and I always like to see plenty of shim in a half shaft because it's very easy to take them out. Whereas if this was, for example, a 5 thou, I'd be thinking time to do bearings. So that's good. But what I'm going to do, what I'm thinking to do, is take out the other side as well and see what's in there, because the seal was done on the other axle. People could have been putting in extra shims, taking them out, I don't know. So I want to try and equal them up each side, have the same thickness. So that's good, but I'm happy that that's a good thick shim. So when I took off the brake backing plate, 2 more shims fell out. So this is even better news. Measured them a few times and their size is 22 and 24. So now I've got 3 shims. It's actually 27, not 30, because I was measuring along that bit of a slight bit of surface rust. So I cleaned it down in a few places and I took an average and it was coming in as 27. So there, I summed them up, and that's their factory shims. I think it was 3 roughly put on. When you add them up, that's the preload that was on the bearing. So I'm going to take out the other half shaft and see if we have the same. And if we have the same, well then I can work out what I need to take out to shim it up properly. So that's brilliant. But for now, I think I'm going to give this a bit of a wash out in the parts washer, and also give that a wash out. It's a bit grimy. I'm after giving this flange a bit of a sandpaper to clean it. I'm after getting the air going and blowing a lot of the old grease out and collecting it there with the blue paper. Grease seems to be very good, just as I was told, so I will be able to repack that properly with some fresh grease. So I'm after just cleaning down the sealing faces on both sides of this brake backing plate. There was no gaskets on it. Strange, because I know the Ferguson 20 always has a gasket, I think, on this side, but it doesn't matter. One reason why I always clean them down with the wire brush and the drill is, you know, you can get a better look at what you're working with, and there's that burr there mightn't look like much, but when you run your hand over it, you can actually feel that someone had, in the past, I'd say, put something in there to pry this off, and it's actually, it feels very, very high. So I'm just going to put on a 120 grade sandpaper and a disc there and get that out of it, because you can feel a very pronounced kind of a burr coming up around that. So I'll get that nice and flat. Job oxo, that's after coming out of it. Just as well as spotted that was definitely sitting up well over 5 5 thou anyway. That might just set things off a little bit. And sure, look, it's easier to do it now than to be looking at a leak. So this side here I'm just going to hit with the, give it the same treatment there with the sandpaper. The disc is just a little bit rough here and there. It's just to give it the best chance of sealing. Now this seal was sealing, but because they're so easy to replace and they're not expensive, we're going to go and replace it. Simple as that. In with your crowbar. I'm after giving this flange a quick cleaning up, and there's a lot of burrs on it. Definitely someone was in here before, and this seal isn't factory. Factory would have been a leather seal. So the seal was replaced with some kind of double lip seal, very good. Yeah. I only did a small bit of damage, but mind you, that's for the bin. So that's another job done. There's no point fitting a new seal because I will be putting the shaft in and out a few times to check the shimming, and you don't want to be doing that, putting your splines of the shaft through the rubber lip too many times, as it can damage them. So what I do is I shim it up and then put in my seal and put it all back together. For the purposes of just checking the shims, I usually just put in 2 studs, one 180 degrees across from each other, because it's easier for lining up that. If you had all 6 of them in, it can be a bit awkward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this half shaft back in. I'm going to leave out, remember we said we needed roughly about 20-21 thou out, so I'm going to leave him out. I'm going to put them 2 back in, and I'm just going to redo the test and see what sort of an end float we have. So I'm after putting it back on, and I'm after putting in, I think, 5 studs. So the end float now is only minimal. A lot better. It's very hard to measure that without a dial gauge. It feels to me like it's in around about 7 or 8 thou. So I am going to, now when you tighten that up, it's going to, within all of the studs, it will tighten up a bit. I would like to see it actually just a slight bit snugger, so I'm happy with that. So I am going to take off the half shaft on the other side and see what weight's in there as well, and do the same job, clean everything up. I think I'll go and fit the new seal in there now, because I'm happy enough that I'm going to be able to work with that side, this side the way it is. So fit that new seal is the next job. Now, so this half shaft's ready to come. I couldn't get the cotter pin out of there, so I've lifted up the footboard, and I'll get it out when I have this pulled. I don't want to go shaking things too much. I think what's happening is there's a bit of stuck in there. Or so, yeah, we're coming now. Lovely. This is going to be a little bit awkward with all of that still attached. So I'll bring the camera back a bit so it doesn't hit that big rod. Now, okay. Try and keep an eye going down there so we can see what condition everything's in down there. Now we're going to get the torch. I was looking at that seal. I believe that seal was replaced not too long ago. I have a new one there for it anyway. Oh, we'll just take a quick look, have a gander. Ah yeah, that definitely was replaced in the not so distant past. But anyway, that's going to get replaced again. And what's this? a bit of an old gasket, is it? Is there a gasket on that? There's a oh, there's a shim. That's interesting. Anyway, I'm going to start taking this apart and cleaning everything up. I'm going to get this gutter bin out. I'm going to try and tap out that split pin by putting the end of this into the eye of it. And might can come. There we go. That's sort of saving a bit of hardship. And now I should be able to tap that down through it. Well and truly, that's not too bad, I'd say, but it's giving a bit of jip. I don't want to go widening it too much at the top, because I won't want to go through. That's the last thing I want. Mind you, I'll be able to file it if I had to. What's that off? Is that off there? Huh? I haven't seen that on the other side. It's interesting. Sort of pop off something. I'll have to look back at the video and see did that come off. Where did it come off? Steam pot. So I might just carry that over to the vise and give it a bit more persuasion over there. It took a good bit of persuasion, but I got him out in the end. So it's going to need a quick run of the file all around it. A little bit wide at the top from me hitting it. So, but it's off there anyway, so that's the main thing. Brilliant, another job done. This parts washer is worth its weight in gold. All of this oil and grease, dirt from when I was making before, it's still on the back plate here, so I might as well give it a bit of a clean off. I'm after giving this sealing sort of quick hit of it through the wire brush. And this is all cleaned off. And lo in the future, if the seal is leaking, because to be honest with you, with that much kind of wet, greasy oil here, it nearly would be sitting below here. And you see it from the outside leaking. You think it needs a new seal, when it was probably only the residue what was left first time repaired. So I'm going to continue doing this, and I will get the half shaft in next. Give everything a good clean out, especially around the bearing, because I want to try and get a bit of that grease out so I can get in new grease. Style it. So the bearing got a good wash out. I turned the half shaft upside down and I blew out all of the dirt in there and the old grease, so it's nice and clean, it's running free. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to polish up this sealing surface here for the seal. I'm going to stop the stuff going down into the bearing, but I might just give it another quick run in the parts washer and blow out for the sake of a few minutes. I know that that bearing is good and clean. That's the last thing we want, is to have to go replacing bearings needlessly.